is this the kind of America we signed up for with a Biden White House? There were at least 12 mass shootings this weekend across the country, from Texas to New Jersey. And as the weather heats up, Steve, it's looking like we may be seeing another summer of violence.
Yes, unfortunately, Jen, especially as Joe Biden and the left look to defund police departments. But it also looks like Congress is poised to miss President Biden's deadline of getting the federal police reform bill passed by the one-year anniversary of George Floyd's death. And I have some thoughts about that anniversary, because tomorrow he hosts the family of the late George Floyd at the White House to mark the anniversary of George Floyd's death. Protests over what happened on that fateful day in Minneapolis turned into a summer of violent riots that led to death, cities in flames, and billions in property damage. All the while, the left created a carefully crafted myth, one dutifully sold by the mainstream media, that Floyd was someone to be revered, a role model to be emulated, and even a heavenly figure to be quasi-worshipped. Biden and others will use the anniversary to further anoint St. George.
Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice. Because of you and because of thousands, millions of people around the world who came out for justice, your name will always be synonymous with justice.
But George Floyd was a troubled man who brought misery and pain to many. During a 2007 home invasion, he pulled a gun on a pregnant mother, pointing the pistol at the unborn baby in her stomach. He and his hoodlum friends were looking for cash and drugs in the home. Floyd served 5 years in prison for this horrific crime, the most serious offense on a long rap sheet of arrests and violent acts. Now, that doesn't mean Floyd deserved to die in the street. And I am not defending the tactics of Derek Chauvin. I do believe that Floyd was abused badly that day in Minnesota. It's also become clear that the jury that convicted Chauvin was very conflicted, with one alternate juror admitting that she was fearful. She said, quote, "I was concerned about people coming to my house." But regardless of the problems with the trial, Officer Chauvin's conviction only accelerated the elevation of Floyd into some heroic saint, which is an affront to his many victims. Imagine one of them watching one of the most powerful women on earth, Pelosi, speak about George Floyd as if he is St. Peter. Now, there are lots of legitimate black heroes to celebrate, but he is not one of them. Young black men should be encouraged to grow up, should not be encouraged to grow up to be a man who lived a life of drug abuse and crime, but rather to be men like Robert Johnson, Walter Payton, or Denzel Washington. And young black men, all young men for that matter, should be taught to comply with police directives, even if those police are acting improperly. Folks, with cameras everywhere, including body cams on most cops, there's a high likelihood that abusive cops, and there aren't many abusive cops, but there's a high likelihood that they will pay a steep price for their abuses. But we must convince our young people that resisting the police can lead to terrible consequences. Now, Floyd's fate absolutely can be mourned. His death was unnecessary. It was tragic. Chauvin has been charged with murder, convicted, and is en route to a probably lengthy prison sentence. But stop letting Biden and the left create a myth that Floyd should be revered or form a part of our national consciousness alongside people like Dr. Martin Luther King.
But even Dr. King's assassination did not have the worldwide impact that George Floyd's death did.
Floyd's death could have been a rallying point for better relations between police and communities. Instead, his death was quickly weaponized by radical agitators and anti-police zealots who turned neighborhoods, many of them full of black and brown people, into de facto war zones. Let's break down some of the damning data. In 2020, in our 3 largest cities, murders were up year over year, 2020 versus 2019. In Chicago, 50%. New York, 40%. Los Angeles, 30%. And things haven't gotten better in most of these cities, in all of these cities, in 2021. For example, in the city of Chicago, carjackings so far this year, 2021, there are 558 of them versus 603 for the entirety of the year 2019. Now, Let's not celebrate a man who lived by the code of violence, even if his own life ended tragically. Let's implement policies that will help, not hurt, struggling communities. Things like educational choice, controlling migration so that the wages of working class drivers rise, and yes, more cops to patrol these streets. Jen, I hope that we will take the right lessons away from this anniversary tomorrow.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.